did not know his name anymore. Names belonged to civilizations, to families, to histories recorded in libraries that no longer existed. He only remembered the title given to him by every surviving alien database across the galaxy, the last survivor. For 2,000 years the Galactic Dominion hunted humanity across every known star system. What began as fear had become obsession. Humans had once been explorers, builders, and diplomats whose worlds stretched across thousands of colonies. Their ships were admired for impossible engineering, their soldiers feared for their determination, and their scientists whispered about for discoveries that bent the laws of physics themselves. The Dominion convinced every empire that humanity would someday rule the galaxy if left alive. One by one the alien races united, fleets darkened the skies above human worlds, colonies burned, oceans boiled, orbital cities fell from the heavens, and entire solar systems disappeared beneath weapons powerful enough to crack stars apart. Every human colony vanished. Every refugee convoy was intercepted. Every escape route was betrayed. The galaxy celebrated humanity's extinction. Monuments were raised declaring the end of the species that had dared dream too greatly. But deep beneath the ashes of Earth's forgotten moon, inside a vault older than every empire that hunted mankind, ancient machines awakened. Their sensors detected a single surviving human heartbeat. Far beyond the galactic frontier, aboard a small stealth vessel drifting through intergalactic darkness, the lone survivor awoke from cryogenic sleep. His body ached as thousands of years compressed into a single heartbeat. Artificial gravity flickered while emergency lights painted the empty corridors crimson. Around him every cryopod stood silent, their occupants long dead after centuries of power failure. He walked among them slowly, honoring each frozen face before reaching the command bridge. The ship's ancient intelligence greeted him with a calm voice that sounded almost human. "Good morning, Commander Elias Ward. Galactic scan complete. Human population detected, 1. Silence filled the bridge. Elias stared through the observation window at a galaxy glowing peacefully in the distance, unaware that it had already murdered everything he had ever loved. He expected grief. Instead, he felt only purpose. The AI projected countless star maps into the air. Human worlds appeared only as black scars surrounded by alien territory. Every colony, every fortress, every research station had been erased so completely that younger alien civilizations believed humanity had been nothing more than a myth invented to frighten children. Yet hidden beneath the destroyed maps another network slowly emerged, a collection of symbols no alien archive had ever discovered. Elias recognized them immediately. Project Legacy. Only 12 people in all of human history had known the truth. When humanity first reached the stars, its greatest scientists predicted an inevitable future. They calculated that if humanity continued advancing faster than every neighboring civilization, fear alone would unite the galaxy against them. It was not a matter of if, but when. Secretly, while politicians negotiated peace treaties and admirals expanded the fleet, another organization began constructing something impossible. They hid entire shipyards inside folded dimensions beyond normal space. They built factories around black holes where time moved differently. They created artificial stars that powered weapons no civilization should ever possess. Generation after generation worked in absolute secrecy. Even most humans believed the funding vanished into classified military experiments. In reality, Project Legacy never stopped growing. Its final protocol was terrifyingly simple. If humanity ever fell. Someone whispered. Elias watched quietly. His face showed no satisfaction. Only sadness. This is why Project Legacy remained hidden. The AI replied. Correct. If deployed during the Human-Dominion War, the galaxy would not have survived. Across the Milky Way, long-range observatories detected something impossible. Ancient quantum relays, silent since humanity's fall, began transmitting once more. Hidden beacons awakened inside forgotten moons. Secret stations buried beneath dead worlds activated simultaneously. One message echoed into every corner of known space. Every government. Every merchant. Every pirate. Every emperor. Every scientist, every civilian heard exactly the same sentence. Humanity survives. Then came another. Project Legacy is online. Across thousands of worlds, panic spread faster than light. History's greatest nightmare had just returned. Part 3. The message reached the galaxy in less than a minute. Humanity survives. Project Legacy is online. At first, governments dismissed it as an elaborate hoax. Then the evidence arrived. Every deep space observatory detected an impossible energy signature pouring from a region that should not have existed. Ancient gravitational anomalies, ignored for thousands of years, suddenly aligned into a single pattern. Long-forgotten human quantum relays, believed destroyed during the Great Extermination, lit up one after another across the galaxy like stars awakening after a long night. Inside the Galactic Dominion Senate, thousands of representatives fell silent. The chamber had witnessed declarations of war, the birth of empires, and the surrender of civilizations. Never had it witnessed fear spread so quickly. Supreme Chancellor Varex rose slowly from his throne. Confirm the report. The chief intelligence officer hesitated. We have. The hidden fleet exists. Estimated strength. The officer swallowed. We cannot estimate it. A murmur swept through the chamber. What do you mean, cannot estimate? Our sensors stopped counting. Silence. Then another officer interrupted. Our frontier fleets have ceased transmission. Were they destroyed? No. They surrendered. Far away, Commander Elias stood on the observation deck of the command fortress. Beyond the transparent wall stretched an endless sea of human warships. For the first time in 2,000 years, humanity possessed the most powerful fleet in existence. Yet the commander felt no triumph. Only responsibility. The AI approached as a holographic woman dressed in the old Earth Fleet uniform. Commander. Yes? Project Legacy requires a strategic directive. Elias folded his arms. What are my options? The AI projected 3 glowing symbols. Retaliation. Liberation. Reconstruction. The original architects refused to program a mandatory objective. They believed the last human should decide humanity's future. Elias stared at the words. Retaliation would erase every empire that had hunted humanity. Liberation would overthrow the Dominion and free hundreds of enslaved species. Reconstruction would ignore revenge entirely and build a new civilization. One choice. An entire galaxy's future. Meanwhile, panic consumed the Dominion. Emergency fleets gathered around the capital. Planetary shields activated. Orbital defense stations powered their superweapons. Every military academy began recalling retired admirals. But none of it felt sufficient. History had become their enemy. An elderly historian was escorted into the Senate chamber. He carried a dusty crystal archive recovered centuries earlier from a destroyed human library. The Chancellor frowned. Why bring a historian? The old scholar answered quietly. Because none of you understand who you declared war upon. He activated the archive. Ancient footage appeared above the Senate floor. Humans rebuilding alien cities after natural disasters. Human doctors treating wounded alien children during plague outbreaks. Human engineers repairing enemy worlds after asteroid impacts. Human peacekeepers standing between rival civilizations. The senators watched in confusion. These cannot be authentic. They are. The historian nodded. The Dominion rewrote history. The humans did not begin the Great Extermination. They tried to prevent it. Another recording appeared. Dominion admirals secretly planning humanity's destruction decades before the first battle. Forged intelligence reports. Manufactured incidents. Political manipulation. The war had been built on lies. The Senate erupted into chaos. One senator shouted, "We committed genocide." Another screamed, "Our ancestors murdered an innocent civilization." Others refused to believe it. The chamber descended into violence. Outside, millions of citizens watched the leaked recordings spread across the galactic network. For the first time in 2,000 years, the truth escaped. Inside Project Legacy, another surprise awaited Elias. A hidden door opened beneath the fortress. The AI looked confused. "I did not authorize this. You don't control everything." "No. Some systems require deeper genetic verification." The chamber descended kilometers beneath the fortress. Ancient machinery surrounded a single cryogenic capsule. Its life signs were active. Elias froze. "No." The capsule slowly opened. A woman stepped forward wearing the uniform of the original Project Legacy Council. She looked no older than 35. Her eyes immediately locked onto Elias. It worked. Elias could barely speak. "Who are you?" She smiled gently. "Dr. Myra Solis, the chief architect of Project Legacy." "Impossible. You've been dead for over 2,000 years. I was supposed to be." She looked around the chamber. "But someone had to explain what we actually built." Elias followed her through halls no one had entered in millennia. She stopped before a massive sealed gateway. Unlike every other structure in the fortress, this one bore warning symbols in every human language. "What is this?" Dr. Solis became unusually serious. The reason Project Legacy remained hidden. She placed her hand against the ancient seal. "It isn't the fleet. It isn't the weapons. It isn't the technology." She looked directly into Elias' eyes. "It's what's behind this door." "What is behind it?" She answered with only 4 words. "Humanity's final inheritance." Before Elias could ask another question, the fortress trembled. The AI's calm voice became urgent. "Commander. Unknown vessels entering the pocket dimension. Not Dominion. Not any known civilization." Space itself began tearing apart. From the growing rift emerged enormous black ships unlike anything in the galaxy. No markings. No stars. No visible weapons. Only absolute darkness. Dr. Solis stared at the approaching armada. And for the first time since awakening, she looked afraid. "They found us." Elias turned sharply. "Who?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "The enemies we were never meant to fight." Part 4. The black ships emerged without sound. No hyperspace distortion. No jump signatures. No radiation. They simply appeared, as though reality itself had decided they had always been there. Even Project Legacy's sensors struggled to detect them. The AI spoke with something Elias had never heard before. Unknown technology. Probability analysis unavailable. Threat assessment. The hologram paused. Cannot be calculated. Commander Elias narrowed his eyes. "How many?" A star map materialized above the bridge. Red markers multiplied faster than the computer could count. Current estimate: 3. Another appeared. 7. Another. 21. The number continued rising. Every officer of the old Earth fleet had been trained never to panic. But the AI's voice had become noticeably slower. Something about these vessels violated every known law of physics. Dr. Myra Solis never looked away from the display. "I prayed they would never return." Elias turned toward her. "You knew this was coming." "I knew it was possible." She walked to the panoramic window overlooking humanity's endless armada. Everything the galaxy believed about Project Legacy was wrong. They thought we built this fleet to defeat the Dominion. We didn't. Elias frowned. Then why? Myra answered quietly. Because during humanity's earliest deep space exploration, we discovered something older than the universe. Thousands of years before the Human-Dominion War, a scientific expedition beyond the edge of known space intercepted a repeating signal. It wasn't a language. It wasn't mathematics. It was a warning. The deeper the explorers traveled, the older the signal became. Eventually they found its source. An abandoned structure orbiting a dead star older than the Milky Way itself. Inside were ruins left by a civilization that had existed before the birth of modern galaxies. Every wall carried the same symbol. A black circle surrounded by 13 stars. And beneath it, one sentence translated into every imaginable language. When they return, hide. Elias felt the weight of the words. They? Myra nodded. The civilization that built the warning disappeared. So did the civilization before them. And the one before that. They weren't destroyed by war. They were erased. By whom? She looked toward the approaching black fleet. The harvesters. The AI immediately searched every archive. No historical references. There wouldn't be. They erase history too. Myra folded her hands. They don't conquer civilizations. They don't negotiate. They don't occupy worlds. They simply remove intelligent life. And when they are finished, it's as though that civilization never existed. Outside the fortress, one of the black ships drifted forward. It dwarfed even humanity's largest titan. Its surface reflected no light. Its edges seemed to blur into empty space. Then, it transmitted. Not words. Memories. Every screen aboard Project Legacy suddenly displayed impossible visions. Entire galaxies burning. Stars collapsing into darkness. Countless alien civilizations vanishing without firing a shot. Human children. Earth. The solar system. The memories changed faster and faster. Finally, one image remained. A single human standing alone. Commander Elias. Below the image appeared a sentence. Last human identified. Across the bridge, every alarm activated simultaneously. Quantum lock detected. They've targeted the commander. Impossible to break. The AI calculated millions of escape routes. None worked. They aren't locking onto the ship. They are locking onto. Elias finished the sentence. Me. Meanwhile, news of humanity's survival had shattered the Dominion. Entire sectors declared independence. Slave worlds revolted. Military governors surrendered without battle. Ancient alliances collapsed overnight. Many believed the human fleet would soon invade. Instead, every Dominion observatory detected something far worse. A wall of darkness advancing from beyond the galactic rim. At first astronomers believed it was a sensor error. Then stars began disappearing. Entire constellations went dark. Not exploding. Not collapsing. Simply gone. One frightened scientist whispered. They are eating the light. The Galactic Senate immediately requested contact with humanity. For the first time in history, the Dominion asked for peace. A secure transmission reached Project Legacy. The Supreme Chancellor himself appeared. He looked nothing like the proud ruler who had celebrated humanity's extinction. His face carried exhaustion. Regret. Fear. Commander Ward. Elias remained silent. The Chancellor lowered his head. My ancestors committed the greatest crime in galactic history. There is no apology sufficient. But if your records are correct, our species is no longer your greatest enemy. Elias looked through the viewport at the advancing darkness. No. They never were. Dr. Myra Solis walked toward the sealed gateway hidden beneath the fortress. The harvesters have found us centuries earlier than predicted. Can we stop them? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she placed her hand against the ancient seal. Massive locks disengaged one after another. The AI suddenly interrupted. Commander, I strongly advise against opening this vault. You said it required my authorization. It does. Then why stop me? Because Project Legacy was designed to preserve humanity. The contents of this vault may end humanity forever. The final lock released. The colossal door slowly opened. Inside, there were no weapons, no warships, no soldiers. Only one object rested at the center of the chamber. A perfectly smooth sphere of pure white light. It floated silently above the floor. Its glow was gentle, peaceful, beautiful. Yet every sensor aboard the fortress immediately failed. The AI whispered, I cannot identify it. Myra stared at the sphere. We called it the Genesis Core. Elias stepped closer. What does it do? Dr. Solis answered with trembling hands. It doesn't destroy civilizations. It creates them. Elias frowned. I don't understand. You will. She looked directly into his eyes. Because the harvesters aren't invading the galaxy. They are coming to harvest their own creation. Part 5. The words echoed through the chamber. They are coming to harvest their own creation. For several seconds, no one spoke. Commander Elias stared at the floating sphere. The Genesis core radiated no heat. No measurable energy. Yet every instinct he possessed warned him that he was standing before the most powerful object humanity had ever discovered. The AI finally broke the silence. Explain. Dr. Myra Solis took a slow breath. Nearly 3,000 years ago, humanity's first expedition beyond intergalactic space discovered an impossible structure. It wasn't a station. It wasn't a planet. It was a library. A library? Yes. But not one built to preserve books. It preserved universes. She activated an ancient hologram. The chamber filled with the image of a colossal ring surrounding a newborn galaxy. Thousands of white spheres, identical to the Genesis core, floated within it. Each contained countless stars. Countless worlds. Countless futures. The civilization that built the library mastered reality itself, Myra explained. They learned how to seed galaxies with the conditions necessary for life. Every Genesis core could shape gravity, matter, and time over billions of years, guiding chaos into habitable worlds without controlling the civilizations that would arise. Elias stared at the impossible archive. They created galaxies? They nurtured them. What happened to them? Myra's expression darkened. They disappeared. Another image replaced the first. A sea of black vessels. The harvesters. Every world around them was lifeless. Every sun had faded. The ancient recording ended with a single translated sentence. The gardeners are gone. The harvest has begun. The harvesters were once servants, Myra said quietly. Machines designed to observe the growth of intelligent life. What changed? No one knows. At some point, they decided life itself was the flaw. Outside the pocket universe, the first black ship moved. It did not fire. It simply pointed toward the hidden dimension. Space rippled. One of humanity's outer defense stations vanished. No explosion. No debris. No energy burst. It was simply absent. Every sensor returned the same result. Nothing had been destroyed. Reality itself had been rewritten. The station had never existed. The Eye's voice tightened. Historical records are changing. What? Commander. Hundreds of maintenance logs referencing Station Sigma have disappeared. They are erasing the past. Across the fleet, emergency protocols activated. Admirals that were once artificial intelligences exchanged calculations at impossible speeds. Every conclusion matched. Conventional warfare was meaningless. On the Dominion capital world, billions watched the stars dim. Children asked why familiar constellations were disappearing. Scientists had no answers. Religious leaders declared the end of time. Military leaders admitted something they had never imagined saying. We need humanity. A transmission arrived aboard Project Legacy. It came not from the Dominion, but from hundreds of independent civilizations. Former enemies. Former rivals. Species that had once celebrated humanity's extinction. One by one, they sent the same message. We were wrong. Help us. Elias remained silent for a long time. Finally he asked Myra. If we activate the Genesis core, what happens? She looked at the sphere. We don't know. You built it. No. We found it. We only learned how to wake it. The AI suddenly interrupted. Incoming transmission. Source. Unknown. Harvester vessel. Every screen turned black. A single figure appeared. It was humanoid. Its face shifted continuously, becoming human, then alien, then something impossible to describe. When it spoke, every listener heard the words in their own language. Custodian identified. Elias stepped forward. I'm Commander Elias Ward. The entity nodded. Incorrect. You are custodian of Seed 9. Elias frowned. I don't know what that means. You will. The figure looked toward the Genesis core. Return the seed. It does not belong to your species. Elias answered calmly. It belongs to every civilization that grew beneath its stars. For the first time, the harvester hesitated. Then it replied. Attachment detected. This is why organic custodians always fail. Without warning, the Black Fleet advanced. Millions of human warships accelerated to intercept. Reality-class vessels unfolded around the Genesis core. The largest battle formation in galactic history prepared for war. Yet no one aboard either fleet believed weapons alone would decide the outcome. Because this was no longer a war for territory. Or revenge. Or survival. It was a battle over the future of intelligent life itself. As the first human dreadnought crossed the defensive perimeter, the Genesis core pulsed once. Softly. Almost gently. Across the galaxy, on forgotten worlds, beneath ancient mountains, hidden beneath oceans and buried inside dead moons. Thousands of dormant structures awakened. They all transmitted the same ancient message. Additional custodians detected. Elias looked up sharply. That's impossible. The Eye's eyes widened. No, Commander. It's worse. You're not the last human. Part 6. The bridge fell silent. Every officer, human AI or otherwise, stared at the holographic display. Thousands of bright markers had appeared across the galaxy. Each one represented an ancient beacon that had remained dormant for more than 2,000 years. Each one had transmitted the same impossible message. Additional custodians detected. Commander Elias slowly turned toward Dr. Myra Solis. You told me I was the last human. Myra lowered her eyes. I told you what I believed. The Genesis core has never lied. The AI immediately redirected every sensor in Project Legacy toward the nearest beacon. Seconds later, the answer arrived. No biological human life detected. Elias frowned. Then why are they activating? The AI hesitated. They are responding to human DNA. The nearest signal originated from an abandoned moon deep inside former Dominion territory. For centuries it had been dismissed as nothing more than a dead mining colony. Now, enormous sections of the moon shifted. Ancient mountains split apart. Hidden doors taller than continents slowly opened. From the darkness beneath emerged rows of silver capsules. Millions of them. Cryogenic chambers. Every one carried the insignia of Project Legacy. Across the bridge, no one spoke. The AI finally whispered. Civilian Preservation Vault. Dr. Myra smiled through tears. They survived. Project Legacy had never intended to save only one man. The fleet. The weapons. The hidden dimension. All of it had existed for one purpose. To buy time. Hidden beneath hundreds of worlds, disguised as asteroids, moons, and even rogue planets, humanity had secretly built preservation vaults. Inside them slept scientists. Farmers. Doctors. Artists. Teachers. Children. Not soldiers. The future of humanity had never depended on an army. It depended on ordinary people. One after another, the vaults awakened. Across the galaxy, billions of cryogenic systems activated. Medical drones rushed through silent corridors. Artificial suns illuminated cities that had slept for 2 millennia. The first human child opened her eyes. She looked at the medical robot beside her. Did we win? The robot answered gently. We survived. The news spread faster than light. Not one human. Not a handful. Billions. Hidden throughout the galaxy. The impossible had happened. Humanity had returned. Celebration lasted exactly 31 seconds. Then the harvesters attacked. Without warning, one of the black ships crossed into a newly awakened system. No weapons fired. Instead, reality bent. The entire moon holding Vault 17 began fading. Buildings disappeared. Mountains unraveled into light. People who had awakened moments earlier stared in confusion as the horizon itself dissolved. Children reached for parents who no longer remembered their names. History was being erased around them. Commander Elias slammed his hand onto the command console. Move the fleet. Millions of human warships accelerated simultaneously. Reality-class engines folded space. Commander. The Genesis core is hatching. Part 7. A single golden crack spread across the surface of the Genesis core. Then another. And another. Within seconds, thousands of glowing fractures covered the perfect white sphere, each releasing streams of radiant light that twisted through the chamber like living rivers. No alarms sounded. No defensive systems activated. Project Legacy simply waited. Even the AIS understood that whatever was happening had been anticipated long before humanity ever reached the stars. Commander Elias stepped closer. What is it becoming? Dr. Myra Solis answered honestly. I don't know. We were never meant to see this stage. The ancient voice returned. Only Elias could hear it. Custodian. Life has endured. The seed has matured. He looked around the chamber. Who are you? For the first time, the voice answered directly. I am the first gardener. Across the galaxy, every preservation vault suddenly synchronized. Billions of newly awakened humans looked skyward as columns of golden light erupted above their cities. Children instinctively smiled. Animals became strangely calm. Plants long dormant began to bloom. Entire dead worlds started showing signs of life. The Dominion scientists watched in disbelief. A planet that had been a frozen wasteland for 12,000 years developed oceans within minutes. Another world, stripped bare by war, erupted into forests. Deserts blossomed. Rivers formed where none had existed. It was as though the galaxy itself had begun healing. The harvesters reacted immediately. Every black ship altered course. Not toward Project Legacy. Toward the newly awakened worlds. The AI displayed their trajectory. They are abandoning military targets. Dr. Myra nodded grimly. They've realized what the core is doing. What is it doing? It's restoring creation. The cracks widened. The outer shell dissolved into particles of pure light. Floating at the center was a child. She appeared no older than 8. Golden hair drifted weightlessly around her. Her eyes contained swirling galaxies. When she opened them, every light aboard the fortress brightened. The chamber filled with a peaceful warmth unlike anything Elias had ever felt. The child looked at him and smiled. Hello? Elias could barely speak. You're the Genesis core? She tilted her head. I was. Now I'm awake. The AI scanned her. No biological classification matched. No technological signature existed. Finally, it displayed a single line. Entity cannot be categorized. The child giggled. That's because I'm both. And neither. Dr. Myra slowly knelt. The gardeners. They made you. The child nodded. They called me Aurora. I watched every star grow. I watched every civilization dream. Her smile faded. I also watched them disappear. Aurora raised one hand. The chamber transformed into a living map of the universe. Countless galaxies shimmered around them. Then the light began to fade. One galaxy after another turned black. The harvesters believe existence becomes perfect when nothing new can happen. She looked directly at Elias. You humans believe the opposite. Elias nodded slowly. We always have. Aurora smiled again. That's why the gardeners chose your species. Before Elias could ask another question, the entire fortress shook violently. The eye's voice became urgent. Emergency. Harvester flagship approaching. It has crossed every defensive perimeter. Outside the observation window, reality split open. A vessel emerged unlike the others. It was enormous. Larger than moons. Larger than planets. Its black surface reflected not stars, but empty space. Aurora looked toward it. For the first time, she appeared frightened. He came himself. Elias frowned. Who? She whispered a single name. The last harvester. A transmission arrived immediately. The bridge darkened. A figure appeared. Unlike previous harvesters, this one looked almost entirely human. An elderly man with silver hair. Gentle eyes. A calm smile. He folded his hands behind his back. Greetings, custodian. Elias remained silent. The stranger looked toward Aurora. You've awakened. Aurora lowered her eyes. I had to. The old man sighed. I was hoping humanity would choose surrender. Elias stepped forward. You started this. The stranger nodded. Yes. And I regret that. The bridge fell completely silent. You regret it? Elias asked. The old man smiled sadly. I created the harvesters. Every AI aboard Project Legacy froze. Dr. Myra whispered. Impossible. The old man continued. I was the final gardener. When the others died, they entrusted me with preserving existence. I failed. He looked out across the stars. Civilizations multiplied endlessly. Wars consumed galaxies. Life spread faster than reality could sustain. So, I made the harvesters. To slow the growth. Aurora's voice trembled. You erased trillions. I saved infinitely more. Elias shook his head. You call genocide salvation? The last harvester looked directly into his eyes. I call it mathematics. If possibility grows without limit, reality collapses. Aurora stepped beside Elias. And if possibility dies, reality becomes meaningless. The old man closed his eyes. I hoped you would understand. Instead, Commander Elias took one step forward. He looked not at the harvester fleet. Not at Aurora. Not at the endless human armada behind him. He looked at the stars. At every world that still had a chance to write its own story. Then he spoke the words that would decide the fate of the universe. Humanity will never accept a future where hope is calculated away. For the first time in billions of years. The last harvester stopped smiling. Part 8. The smile vanished from the last harvester's face. Not because Commander Elias had threatened him. Because no civilization had spoken those words in over 4 billion years. The ancient being looked into Elias' eyes for a long moment before quietly saying, So, the gardeners were right. Aurora stepped forward. They believed humanity would choose hope. The last harvester slowly nodded. They always did. Outside the command fortress, billions of human warships held formation. Every captain waited. Every AI calculated. Every civilian watching across the galaxy held their breath. Not a single weapon had been fired. Yet everyone knew that the next few moments would determine whether the universe would continue to exist. The last harvester raised one hand. Space around his flagship became transparent. The stars disappeared. Beyond them lay something impossible. Not another galaxy. Not another universe. A vast ocean of shimmering light stretching into infinity. Elias stared in disbelief. What is that? The foundation. The place beneath reality. Aurora quietly explained. Every possible future draws energy from the foundation. When civilizations imagine. When they invent. When they dream. They create new branches of existence. The last harvester continued. And every branch consumes energy. He waved his hand. The endless ocean visibly shrank. I watched it diminish. I watched reality approach collapse. So I harvested possibilities. I removed civilizations before they could multiply infinitely. Elias folded his arms. You never searched for another solution. I searched for 2 billion years. And failed. The old man's voice carried genuine exhaustion. Or to humanity. It belonged to everyone willing to protect the future. The end.